Welcome to this episode of Learning Fusion. In today's episode, we're going to be covering working with masks within Fusion. So let's roll this intro and let's get into it.
We're learning Fusion together. We'll learn 2D stuff and 3D stuff and particle stuff and compositing stuff, deep pixel stuff and tracking stuff, but not other stuff, but some other cool stuff, cause we're learning Fusion together.
So now in the last episode, I covered the differences between mats and masks, so I'm not going to go over that again. But in general, what masks are for is for creating alphas within your compositions or your images or whatever you need alphas for. So if we jump over here to this effects, again, you can see DaVinci or Fusion broke out the difference between mats and masks, and there's a bunch of little tools we can use within the mat section. And within this are all of our little polygon, ellipse, rectangle, and these are technically made for creating masks. Not necessarily for creating shapes, but for creating masks. And what's great about them is we can animate it. So in general, if I was to say, take this a little ellipse, plug it into our effects mask, you can see we just created a mask on that image. So all it really did is create this alpha that is applied to our media that we're inputting into. And of course, with all these, the rectangle, the ellipse, our polygon, our B-spline, and our multi-poly, we can animate these. So we can animate that, go to the end, and I should have probably created a keyframe. I gotta apologize. I'm a little sick, and I've got allergies going on. So I'm a little dim-witted today. So there we go. We've got it animated. And we can animate that mask, which if you remember right, was one of the main differences between masks and mats. And there's many ways to bring this in. So let's say, let's bring in a merge node, and let's bring in our little smoky background here. And if I wanted to input this into my foreground in my merge, you can see it was masked off. Now we can also plug that same mask into our merges if we want, so we can mask that foreground image. But just so you know, I believe this is probably going to change because this media here is actually 4096 and our background is 3840 by 2160. So if you have weird things happening when you're switching masks around, it's usually due to your sizing, because watch what happens when I take this ellipse, which is the same size here, and plug it into this. You can see our ellipse just changed. So just keep in mind your sizing when you're creating this, because wherever you initially plug your masks into, it's going to maintain that sizing. So to make sure you're maintaining those sizings, if you have different size stuff, you want to probably make sure you resize it correctly. So on here, I'm going to throw a crop node and just crop it back down to the correct size of our overall media. And I'm going to offset that back on the X. So there you go. We've got a mask using the ellipse. We can soft edge it up if we want. It's animated and it looks lovely. And this goes for any of these up here. So even if I brought a square in, plug it in our square. Now we just created a mask using our little square. We can animate it if we want. Now sometimes we may want to combine them. And if we're combining them in general, it's the same as with our little mask nodes or our mats that we did the other day. So technically, if I wanted to combine this, I could bring in our channel booleans node or our little mat control node, and I can plug this in to the foreground. Let's look at what's going on. Let's grab another little rectangle, plug it into the foreground there, and let's change this shape. If we wanted to combine them, as a reminder, we go to add. We want to do nothing, do nothing, do nothing, and combine our alphas. And then we could plug this into our little effects mask input. And there we go. We've got them merged together. Now, one thing is when we're combining this, if we want to actually subtract them out. So for example, let's go here and let's add an ellipse, and then let's go ahead and add a little square in the middle. So if we wanted to remove the square out of here, combining them is going to be a little different between these two. So let's go ahead and bring in our ellipse to the background, our rectangle to the foreground. And if we're using the channel booleans node, to be able to do this, you would think we would go to subtract and it works perfect. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, just so you know. So sometimes you may have to use negative. So just go back and forth between subtract and negative to get the actual look you're looking for. But now we can take this and put it into our little effects mask, and you can see we just combine those together. Same with our matte control. If we go to the background, go to the foreground, we go to our matte control node. All we have to do is combine our alpha, and instead of copy, we want to subtract. So we just subtract what's on top from what's on the bottom. And we can plug it in, and there we go. We've got our little mask with the mask in the center subtracted. Now, using these shapes isn't the only way we can create masks. We can use stuff like the text node, and if we use the text node and put it into our effect mask input, we can go to the text node and I don't know, right, smoke, and let's go ahead and change the size. If we look at our media, you can see we've got a mask on that media. And if I need to invert it, I can always just go to my media, go to my settings, and apply it inverted. And we've got that mask on there. And again, we could animate this however we want. Now, when you would use masks, it's up to you. It's, again, like the mats, it's kind of unlimited. So whenever you need to mask something out, you're going to use it. But one of the most common things we use masks for is when we're doing keying or green screen or compositing. So let's go ahead and add a delta key here, and let's go ahead and get a quick key. So we've got our keyed out footage. Now, when I was talking about mats the other day, I was talking about these two inputs, the garbage mat and the solid mat. This is one of the most common ways you're going to use masks. So if we wanted to create a garbage mat or a mask for a garbage mat, we could bring in a polygon. We could just go ahead and mask around here. And we just created a garbage mat. So in essence, if we look at our alpha channel here and we input it into our garbage, you could just see it just got rid of all that garbage. And if we needed to animate it, a quick way to do it, so we could just select it all. And let me uncheck those. And we can animate it as necessary. So there we go. We've got our little garbage mat animated. Now, we had a member the other day when we were talking about keying mentioned that we could actually attach this to trackers, and I didn't want to get into it in that episode because I wanted to save it for this episode. But yes, we can attach these to trackers. Now, mind you, there's going to be a couple issues with this. First of all, when we create a tracker and we attach it to our little polygon, our points here, the first time we play it, what's going to happen is that tracker data is going to be written on every single frame. So if we track this, so let me go ahead and actually show you the issues you're going to have. So let's add a tracker, not an ultra keyer. Let's add a tracker node, and let's input that. And let's look at our regular channels there. So let's go ahead and grab a track. So let's say we're going to track her little eye here. And basically what I want to do is if I'm using this to track for, say, a garbage mat, I'm looking for something that's moving to attach my little garbage mat to so it's staying out of the way of my subject. Let's name this to track 1. Let's add another one. And let's attach this to, I don't know, this little mole thing down here. Track 2. Let's add one more. And let's attach it, I don't know, to this little piece of fuzz coming out. So, track 3. So we've got 3 tracks. Let's go ahead and track this forward. And there we go. Now, to be able to use these tracks correctly, we're going to want offsets. And we can simply select our track, and I could change this offset to where I want that garbage mat to be. And because this does get a little finicky sometimes, I like to make sure I add keyframes. So I'm going to keyframe it, go to the end, add another keyframe. If I needed to change it, I would. Let's go to track 2. Let's change our offset to be right outside her hair there. So now my offset's right over here. Keyframe it, go to the end, add a keyframe. And let's go to track 3 here and change our offset. And we just want it right off of her shoulder there. So it's right here. Keyframe, go to the end, add another keyframe. So there we go. We've got our little offsets. So let's go back to our delta key here, and I'm going to actually delete this polyline, and let's create a new one because we added some animation data to it there. And let's go ahead and create a little garbage mat here. And I'm creating points kind of where I know I had my points. So once I have my polyline in, I am not going to animate it because I don't want any animation data on there yet because it'll override this little tracker data that we're inputting here. So first thing I want to do is I want to publish my points, and let me get rid of my handles. There we go. So I'm going to select this point, right click, go to polyline, publish, publish points, select my next one, right click, polyline, publish, publish points. And I could select all these and do it all at once, but sometimes our points get mixed up, and I like to make sure they're nice and orderly. So go to my third point, polyline, publish, publish points. So now that I publish all 3 points, you notice over here we have our 3 points that are published, and we can connect these to our trackers. So if I right click on point 0, connect to tracker 1, track 1 offset position, go to my second point, connect to tracker 1, track 2 offset position, go to my third point, connect to track 1, track 3 offset position. You're going to see a few things happen. First, it's going to be a little weird because it's writing all that animation data. But the next thing you're going to notice is these 2 points that we didn't add any track data or information to are also going to have animation set to it. So let's go ahead and push play. So there we go. We've got our 3 points following our tracks. But if you notice, this point and this point are staying still because there was no animation set to it. Now, the bad thing is say if I go to the end and I'm like, oh, this point should have been over here. I can animate it. I can add that animation so it's there correctly. But if you notice, we have animation data written on every single frame. So if I back it up, it's back. So I'd have to go to every single frame and change that animation data. That's why if you plan to publish your points and attach them to trackers, make sure any points that you need animated are animated before you do all this connecting trackers and everything. That way they're animated correctly and you don't have to worry about it. So the correct way to do this, let me go ahead and delete that out again. And let's add a new polyline and put it to our garbage mat there. And let's create our points. Make sure I'm in the beginning. Point, 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 and a point down here, and one more here. So there you go. We've got all of our points. And remember, this one and this one, we need to fix our animation before we assign these. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go to the end and change this animation over to where it should be. And there we go. We've got that animated well enough. Let's go to this point here. Let's animate this one. And there we go. And once we have that, we can go in here and we can right click, publish, publish points, right click, polyline, publish, publish points, right click, polyline, publish, publish points. And we've got our 3 points published. Then we can go in here, right click, connect to tracker 1, track 1 offset position, right click, connect to track 2 offset position, right click, connect to track 3 offset position. So now we've got all of our little trackers, and like I said, it's going to do something weird at first while it's writing all the animation data, but now we've got it connected and we're good to go. Now, if you notice, we've got this other stuff over here. So we could technically make another one, but how do you combine these two when we have multiple lines in one thing, like say the garbage mat? There are a few ways. We can use our little channel booleans node if we wanted to. We could use our mat control node if we wanted to, but we can also use stuff like the multi-merge. So we could technically use a multi-merge to merge multiple polylines together to create one garbage mat. So I could input this to the background, bring this into our garbage mat there. So we've still got our polyline and it's still animated. And if we needed to make a second one for over here, we could just simply grab a new polyline, input it, and go ahead and create our polyline. And then we could animate it if we want. So go to the end, animate it out the way. So there we go. We've got our little polyline animated incorrectly. But there we go. We've got both our polylines going together in a multi-merge going into our garbage mat. We could also use a multi-polyline, which is something I do quite often, but it's going to operate a little differently. So if I disconnect this, we brought in a multi-polyline. We can connect that to our garbage mat. If I go here, and actually let me stay here so I can see what I'm doing. I can create a polyline. And if I needed to animate it, I'm going to have to do one more step. So by default, this isn't animated. And you'll know it's red, therefore it's not animated, because even if I go to the end and I change it, you can see there's no animation whatsoever. Whereas our normal polyline automatically animates itself when we move it. But for this to work, what we have to do is we have to go down here, we have to right click and select this animate modify button. Now, once it turns green, we can animate this. So I can take this and we can go to our little frame here and now it's animated. If I needed to add another one, I could just select polygon. In this one, I could create a new polygon. And again, if I needed to animate it, I would go here, right click, animate. Now it's green, I can animate it. So there we go. We've got our little second polyline animated. And the good thing is we only have one little node here. We can hit F2, rename it to garbage mat, and we've got our garbage mat. Same thing with our solid mat. So if I go here and I see all this stuff in here I need to fix, inside I could create a multi-poly, and I could create a polygon around all this stuff I need to cover up. And if I plug this into our little solid mat input, now we just covered that up. If I needed to animate it, I could animate it. If I needed to add another one to say cover up this portion over here, I could create a new polyline and cover that up. And in this one, we could hit F2 and rename to solid mat. And there we go. We've got our solid mat at its own separate little multi-polygon node. So there we go. That's creating masked infusion to create alpha channels, whether you need it for garbage mats, solid mats, or a mask out for compositing. I will see you in the next episode.